WAAM Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk. Intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
Good Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to catch our drift. Joining me in studio, Ipsy Ed Bonderenka.
Good Saturday afternoon.
See, you're just jumping in, right? You can feel it. It's electric in the air today.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Welcome to Shout Radio.
I'm not going to shout too much today. Maybe the second half. We'll get through this. Well, what we do on the Drift every Saturday is go over the news that I put on thedailydrift.com. And if you're not going there, you should. It's the news you need to know. Yes, there you go. You were late, see?
Sorry.
www.thedailydrift.com. Very easy to find. I put a lot of effort into aggregating those news items that you will not get from the mainstream media, and we will talk about those dirty buggers in the second half hour of the show. But if you're interested in advertising in the Current newspaper, which I'm the chief editor of, call me, 734-629-6010, and try and get into the August edition. We've grown our paper over 500% in the last 10 years now, and it's a great place to grow your business as well and keep community news alive. So 734-629-6010, or email me, Gary, I'm choking on my coffee. Gary, 734-629-6010, or Gary at thedailydrift.com, or editor at currentonline.com. Easy to get to, right? Okay, so you worked your butt off this week, and, well, you and Joe, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Joe did a lot of the heavy lifting,
And got us a great interview, because I've been screaming for months that the Republicans need to put up
literally screaming
a senatorial candidate to go against Debbie Stabenow, whom I think is a disgraced. She's an Obama agendist. She does nothing for the state of Michigan or our country. And when you said we had Chief Justice of the Michigan Supreme Court, Robert Young Jr., going to come onto the show today and interview with us, I was exceedingly happy. So let's bring him on right now and give him as much time as we can. Chief Justice Bob Young Jr. Bob, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Former. I retired from the court a month or so ago, and now I'm just Bob.
Okay, Bob. Well, Bob, that's the first thing for me. If I can call my politicians by their first name, because Tim calls in, our congressman, all the time. But I'm
not a politician. I'm a judge.
But
I am going to take on Debbie Stabenow.
Good.
That's for all the reasons you just said. I stood Wednesday. I made my announcement, and I stood at what I consider a kind of a sacred place, my childhood home in Detroit on 14th and McGraw.
That's a vacant lot now, right?
It used to have a home on it, a home where my family sort of began, and it's just a vacant field now. It's where my dad, who was then a struggling brand new doctor, sort of began his practice, and my family got kicked off, and it represented so much in my mind the physical manifestation of the horrible policies that liberals like Debbie Stabenow have been promoting over the years. Their answer is always more government, more spending. They spent $22 trillion, that's with a T, of our taxpayer dollars on a war on poverty. And what we've got for that investment of our money is a poverty rate that's roughly the same as it was in 1967. That devastated communities like the one I stood in on Wednesday, and of course Obama phones. Now that's a horrible legacy.
Yes,
it's we just can't continue that kind of insanity.
It occurred to me when you were saying the war on poverty that a lot of the black community got hit by friendly fire.
Oh yeah. Well, you can look at, it's not just Detroit. You can go through large swaths of Michigan and find the same devastation. These are policies that are killing communities. They're killing the middle class. The middle class in Michigan has gone more than a decade without an appreciable increase in its income as the costs have gone up, the taxes have gone up. The problem with people like Debbie Stabenow is she loves government more than she loves us. The answer for her is always more taxation, more spending, and she doesn't care a whit about whether the money she's spending causes any appreciable positive result. And it's that we just to give you another. You know, we borrow every year from China the equivalent of our discretionary spending, federal discretionary spending. That includes our military budget. Every year. That's insane. We've got to stop spending like we're crazy, and we've got to start making some tough choices. Debbie Stabenow is a placeholder in the resistance, and she does nothing for her citizens in Michigan or the nation, and she needs to retire.
Yes, absolutely.
To be retired.
Yeah. Bob, I can't tell you how proud I am of you stepping forward, because it goes without saying, you're eminently qualified, legislatively speaking.
Yeah.
You are.
You know the Constitution,
You
right?
know the Constitution and the law.
I spent the last 22 years defending the Constitution as a rule of law judge. The court has a tremendous reputation as one that you can predictably rely on it to follow the law rather than make it. And that's probably why President Trump selected me to be one of his potential nominees for the United States Supreme Court. That's who I am. I am committed to following the law. I mean, we're all, from Debbie's standpoint, we're all just suckers. We follow the rules, but we get none of the benefit for it. Those that don't follow the rules get the benefit.
You were I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, that's deeply offensive to me. I'm 66. I've had a wonderful career in law. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have to do this, but I really feel it in the marrow, my bone marrow, that somebody has to step up and take her on. And so that's something I can do at this stage of my life.
Yeah, and that is awesome. And I can guarantee you, Bob, that Ed and I and the people at this station will do whatever it takes to help you along. And so my only real question is this. Are you ready to stand up and debate Debbie Stabenow on television? And
wait a minute. He was a lawyer.
I understand. I'm just saying.
Am I ready? Yeah, of course I'm ready.
Okay.
The problem is
willing. I think Gary's going for willing.
Oh, yeah.
He has a thing about extra, not going after.
Here's my thing, Bob. Last time around, Pete Hoekstra, right, qualified, obviously, to run for Senate, and waged the absolute worst campaign and did not debate Debbie Stabenow, who can be beaten on every issue, and yet he failed to, whatever the holdup was, you have to debate Debbie on television. You have to get out on television.
I will chase her to the ends of the earth.
Excellent.
She will not want to debate me.
Why would she?
She will not want to debate me.
I can see happening.
I actually have ideas. I actually can express myself. She will not want to debate me, but I will show up wherever she is until she agrees to debate me.
Excellent. Well, Bob, can you hang on? Let's get Joe from Wyandotte, who was very instrumental in getting it. He's got some questions for you. We'll bring him on and see what he's got. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey,
Joe, welcome to the show.
Push the button there, Gare.
Yeah, no, I think I took Bob off there. Put Bob back on. We're good? Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, all right, thanks. Bob, I hope you'll run a good campaign focusing on your conservativeness and your record of being a constitutionalist. And I have two brief questions. The first you kind of maybe touched on a little. Could you please explain the decided difference in positive nature of you having been a proven constitutionalist justice over someone who has been nothing but a party hack and a career politician like Debbie Stabenow and any potential GOP primary candidate may be?
Well, let me give you a little bit of background. First of all, I've been a judge for 22 years defending and upholding the Constitution and our liberties. That's an important background, and it informs my belief that the federal government should stop functioning outside its constitutional limits and within them. I mean, the founders created a limited federal government, but it's anything but a limited government. So that's point one. Point two, Debbie Stabenow has been in the Senate for 18 years, has very little to show for it. Nobody believes that Debbie Stabenow is a leader. Let me tell you what happens when I have authority. For 6 years of my time on the Supreme Court, I was the Chief Justice, and as such, I was responsible for the third branch, the judiciary of Michigan. People have been talking about reforming the judiciary for years, decades actually. I actually reformed it. This is what I did. I shrunk the size of the judiciary. I reduced its cost. I imposed performance measure on every judge to create accountability. So now, and I created transparency because now every citizen of Michigan can look up on their court's internet and see how a court is performing. I also did something else. If you go to Starbucks or any place else, you'll get a card asking you how their service was. And I said, well, that's a good idea. So annually, they're surveying our customers, the court. We have data. We have data on how well judges are performing, how well the public thinks of our services, and we can manage to those things. And what we did was we reduced the cost and improved the service. That's a lesson people need to have in D.C.
Absolutely. Agree with you 100% on that. And my second question is, there's a NSO fund PAC that is trying to draft Detroit businessman and Iraq war veteran John James. Do you have any friendly advice? Do you know John, in case he's listening and indeed also considering a run? Because he's also not a career politician.
I don't have any advice or counsel for anybody who wants to run. This is a free country. I actually welcome a primary. It'll make me a better candidate in opposing Debbie Stabenow. I think what I bring to the table is actual experience in reforming government. I mean, it's one thing to have something no more than your aspiration to do something. It's another thing entirely to have a record. I think that citizens of Michigan will be interested in knowing whether the candidates will talk a lot, whether they can actually deliver anything, whether they have ever delivered anything. And I think my experience is something that the citizens of Michigan, one, they can look it up, and two, they can determine whether that's the kind of reformer that they want in Washington. I want to, I just turned 66. I'm not going to Washington to have a career in D.C. I want to be a disruptor. I want to go and create as much positive change as I possibly can. And I actually know how to do that in government. People have this fantasy that government is exactly the same thing as a business. It isn't. When a CEO says, okay, Carl, we're going to block and turn left, everybody says, yes, down the block, turn left. When a governor or president says that, well, in Michigan, if the governor says that, you have 148 legislators who say, I'm not so sure about that. So you have to understand how to work within government to change it. And it doesn't change willingly. Okay. That's the whole point. You can't be a captive of those interests that want things to stay the way they are.
Yeah, I'll say just one last thing, then I'll go. I greatly appreciate your indulgence.